So this is my 1cc of Maidens of a Hollow Dream, Steam shmup. Kind of a indie title. Um, I've actually wanted to play this game for a little while. I just never pulled the trigger on it. Um, it's $10, so I mean not like it's not like bargain bin uh, level. There's some shmups and games and stuff on Steam that are like 50 cents and that kind of thing. So it's not there, but it is made by a developer that I have played another game by called Steel Vampire. And I was kind of surprised to see that was the same developer of this game because it's kind of the, there's a little bit of similarities, I think, um, as far as like the scrolling screen instead of kind of, a static area a lot of shmups have. Um, the other game has more of a scrolling horizontal screen, and this one is more vertical. But it's interested me for a while because switching between two characters um, is kind of an interesting concept. It's like playing a co-op shmup with somebody else, but you're controlling both characters more or less because even when you're not controlling one of the characters, they're still firing in some sense. So I mean, they can't just be independent and going wherever. They're kind of tethered to you a little bit, but um, I think it's really cool. Um, one of the characters, this character right now, she is definitely weaker than the other one, but she builds up this thing called the alchemy gauge, I think it is, um, which is the little glowing ring that you'll see around enemies and bosses and parts of that. And once that ring is like the maximum level that it can be, which um, doesn't really happen too much on bosses, it's mainly on like enemies, but it can happen on certain like um, parts of bosses and stuff like that. But once that meter or the ring is high enough, um, when you destroy the enemy or the part or whatever, the bullets turn into gems, which power your special or your hyper, I guess, what you would call in this game, which is that bottom left meter there. The bottom right is like is like an experience thing, but that resets to zero every single time you play, so it's not like you can just power your way through the game just by playing it over and over again. It does have a shop with some items and upgrades to your attacks, which is a little bit non-conventional, but this took me several attempts to get through to kind of learn how to play the game. And I bought maybe like one or two upgrades, which you basically equip to both of the characters that you're using. Um, but I wouldn't say it's like a Euro shmup or anything like that. Like I think it's definitely competent on its own. So anyway, that one character builds up the alchemy ring or whatever, that thing that sort of grows out from enemies that you see there. And then once it's the maximum, once they're defeated, any bullets that they have attacked with will turn into gems, which power your special or your bomb. Um, it takes a little bit of getting used to learn how to use it properly, and this is, this is like, I think maybe my fifth or sixth attempt at playing through the whole game. Um, so I by no means have like a mastery of it or anything like that, but it's very unique, um, and I would like to play more games that have this type of mechanic to them, because it's not often that you have a single player game where you control two different characters like this. I'm sure there's others out there, but the way that it works here with one of them being like um, your method of sort of maximizing how many gems you get to power up your hyper meter is pretty cool. So one of them is clearly, like, this character right here is stronger than the other one, but once you build up the hyper, they're both kind of on the same level. So there's his level up. Um, I guess I don't have a ton of experience with the game, only a couple hours, but seems to be more or less you get a level per stage, and there's only 4 stages. Most shmups have 5 stages. This one has 4. Um, but they're pretty decent in length. Um, and they at the same time they don't outstay their welcome. So I think it's a pretty well paced game as well. And I don't normally like these types of side-scrolling shmups that have like geometry and backgrounds and stuff like that. But this, thankfully, is not one of those games where you touching the geometry of the background like hurts your character. It does have kind of it's a little bit janky feeling to me, um, that you need to use the other character that you're not using to sort of uh, jump in front of like a wall or something like that. And you'll see me like fail at that a couple times throughout this run. um, I haven't really quite gotten feel for how to do that correctly, but more or less the strategy seems to be use the weaker girl, which is not this one. I don't even know their name. The green-haired girl is the one that builds up the alchemy level or alchemy ring or whatever that you see, like that yellow gold thing that comes out from enemies. And then the other one, if you destroy it as her, you get the gems. You can get the gems as both characters, but I think you can get more if you use the other one. So right there is the first instance of needing to um, sort of use one of the characters to teleport past a wall or something like that. I haven't really fully understood how that works as far as there might be a much easier way of putting one character ahead of the other one to teleport that I'm just not experienced enough with. But that's really the only downside I think that I would say. for this game because everything else is really, really solid. Um, and you know, it again the the presentation of this game on Steam sort of makes it look like it's, you know, like a adult oriented game or something like that, and it's really not. Um, you know, I'm sure you've noticed the animations using the hypers are kind of suggestive, shall we say, but it's nothing that's like, you know, this isn't like a porn game or something like that. And I think a lot of people haven't played it because they think it is that, and it's definitely not. And that was one of the reasons why I hadn't really played it for so long, or give it a chance, because I thought it was, you know, that type of game that was all about the adult oriented stuff and not really actually being a fun game. But I am very pleasantly surprised with it. Um, like I said, I've spent a couple of hours with it to get this, and this isn't even like the ultimate sort of achievement for this game. There's a mode that gives you a couple continues to beat it, but for a proper 1cc of it, you would have to just not use a continue at all, but it doesn't allow you to use any upgrades or anything from the shop. Which again, I only have like maybe two or three equipped for this clear, which is like increasing the amount of bullets for the normal shot for both of the characters, and I think I have like one upgrade to the amount of health they have, which is another sort of another thing that hardcore shmup players don't really like, having like a health bar and stuff like that. And I'm one of those people, but I think it works in this instance because if you have two characters and one of them is just, you know, one of them gets hit and they're just completely out of the picture, then you have it kind of derails the idea of having uh, two characters to utilize. So I think it makes sense to have a health system like there is. And I mean, this is by no means something that I consider to be a huge accomplishment, you know, getting a 1cc of this game, because it's pretty forgiving when you're not using one of the characters. The other one's kind of regenerating health at a certain level, and anytime you use your hyper, um, the health regeneration is way higher than it normally is. So I think it's more of a game of just constantly kind of switching between the two characters. It's not meant to be something that is incredibly hard. Although, like I said, it took me several attempts of playing through the whole game to get to this, um, to be able to clear it without using a continue. The game does give you one continue. I think there's something in the shop that allows you to sort of credit feed uh, to beat it, but this was a one credit run, which is why I felt like posting it on my channel. And I definitely don't um, see myself as somebody that's a pro at this genre or anything like that, but mainly I just wanted to show this game off. Um, if anyone sees it on Steam and tries to search it on YouTube, um, I think I did in the past, and ultimately I just decided at that time, like, I just there were other things that were more interesting to me. Um, but I've kind of wanted to get into horizontal shmups again recently, so this being something that I always wanted to try, and I'm glad I did, because I really do think this game is a lot of fun, and I think, unfortunately, the presentation of its store page on Steam, it probably will make a lot of people not try it out, um, because they think that it's, like a hentai game or something like that, but you're watching the whole thing. We're about 75, almost 75% of the way through the run. So, there's an animation of the two girls kissing, like, right there when you do the hyper, but that's pretty much it. There's not any nudity or anything else like that. Even, like, between stages. And even playing games like Caladrius Blaze or something that have, like, more revealing art, shall we say. Um, I don't. I think this is, unfortunately, it's been overlooked by a lot of people because of the way that it's presented. But so if you are one of those people that is looking up this game because you saw it on Steam or whatever the case, I think that if you're even remotely interested in what you saw, but thinking that it's all you know graphics and no kind of substance as far as a shmup goes, then hopefully this will change your mind. Um, I was not biased at all uh, with downloading this. I was fully expecting something to be, uh, not refined at all and not have any kind of depth to it. But there is surprisingly uh, a lot of depth to this, and I don't think it's the hardest thing ever to clear either. But at the same time, like, it still makes you feel like you earned it. So I think it could be a decent sort of maybe not beginner, but somebody that hasn't played a ton of shmups or something like that. I think it'd be a good choice for them, because this whole system of, like, using one character to kind of attack an enemy till it's about to die and then use the other character to sort of profit off of the gems, the bullets that enemy has shot, is really cool. So I I think this game is pretty underrated. I mean, it's not. I'm not gonna say it's the best thing I've ever played or anything like that, but it's it's competent and it has enough depth to it that I think more people should play it. Um, and I don't think the animations for the hyper, which are really the only aspect of the game that is kind of shown in the trailer that makes it seem like it's some type of adult shmup or something like that. Um, you know, what you see in this replay is what you get. Like that's all there is to it. You know, it doesn't go any more than that. So the game really focuses on um, the systems, the mechanics. The patterns are also pretty interesting too. Um, there is a little bit of text there, story between mini bot or mid bosses and main bosses, but there's no break between stages, so it's continuous, as you can tell by now. This is the final stage, um, and most maps have five, which is interesting that this only has four, but they're long enough to where it still feels like a full game. So um, yeah, and this stage also kind of plays with the whole geometry and environment, which typically I don't like in games like R-Type and stuff like that, where you have to avoid, you know, walls and stuff that'll environmental hazards apart from the enemies. Uh, Typically, I'm not a huge fan of that stuff, but this game doesn't really like it doesn't overdo it too much, and because it's a I don't even know what the word is for it, but like you know, it's a horizontal game, but it also scrolls vertically, kind of like something like Gradius, I think, does that. Old games trying to replicate that style kind of do this, but the environment does not hurt you, which it does in a lot of those older style games. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I think the patterns are really interesting. The way that they sort of they're almost like 3D in a way. You can see like they're not actually, but the way that it's designed, it makes it look like they are, and I think that's really cool. Um, it's a little bit different than your standard, you know, aimed aimed bullets, random focus bullets and stuff like that directed. I haven't really played the game enough to know whether some of them are or not, but the initial impression is that they aren't, so at least to me. So I really think that the difficulty of this is pretty. it's pretty welcoming to most people. The hitbox is pretty forgiving, and it's evident. You can see the beating heart of both characters. Pretty vibrant colors displaying that. So you know where you're going to get damaged by. Um, but on this difficulty, I don't know if the other difficulty, like if the patterns actually change or if it just changes the fact that you can't use any shop items or something like that. But on this difficulty, I feel like it's pretty perfect as far as like ramping up in difficulty from stage to stage. For it only being 4 stages, um, it could be very easily a type of game that just kind of goes from one extreme to the other between one stage and the next. And there's plenty of games that do that between their like penultimate stage and the final stage. But I think this game is really well balanced as far as the difficulty, uh, ramp ramp up, uh, difficulty curve. So yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a really it's a really fun time. I had a lot of fun playing it. Um, I might try to do the very hard mode, but I'm kind of infamous on my YouTube for saying that I'm gonna do another difficulty and then later kind of abandoning it. So we'll see what happens. I am having fun with the game. Uh, I do still plan to play it after this, despite getting this clear because I definitely feel like I did not do everything uh, like I might have wanted to. Do get hit a lot in this level. It is definitely harder than the other ones, but it helps that you can share your health between 2 different characters, and the other one's kind of recharging while you're not using them, so that helps with the survivability a lot. And also is more like I was saying, more beginner friendly. Um, yeah, these types of things that you can't destroy, that are like these lamps that are shooting bullets out and stuff. I don't really normally like that type of thing, but it's not anywhere else in the game besides this stage, so I don't really mind it. So here we have the final boss. I actually think that these patterns are kind of like teaching you for other bullet hell style shmups, as far as like how long you have to wait for something to give you an opening and stuff like that. It does a really good job of displaying that. And then that type of attack is pretty cool, where it like goes outwards and then it retracts into itself before it goes out again. So I think the patterns are really cool in this game. Um, not the most. Some of them are not very predictable, like these. I think I get hit by these like 2 or 3 times because I think that I know how they're gonna happen. Um, just for reference, I this is I think my second time fighting this boss. If you I'm not really sure. I've actually never reached this boss. with using a continue. I think I reached it once while using a continue, but I've never reached the boss without using a continue, so I'm not sure if that's the end of the game right there, if you do use one or not, but here's the actual last boss here. Um, which still, in my opinion, really isn't that crazy. I mean, it could be because I'm using my hyper there, but yeah. Yeah, I definitely do get hit here. Um, a couple times, but yeah, right there. Yeah, some of these patterns they look really kind of minor, but the way that they move, it makes them more challenging. But anyway, if you're watching this, hopefully you enjoyed this run, and yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.